The Seattle Seahawks had their first OTA practice that was open to the media. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well today. And yesterday was a very interesting day for the Seattle Seahawks because not only did they have another practice, another organized team activity, but we as the fans actually got to engage with it a little bit because it was open to reporters. It was open to the media, and we actually got a lot of really good information. Thought about making a video about this last night, but I don't really like uploading videos really late in the day unless I really feel like it's something pressing or I had already uploaded several videos previously that day. So I thought I'd just go ahead and sit on it and upload the roundup in the next morning. So got some stuff to talk about. We learned a lot of interesting things, although keep in mind the things that we learn are not at all final or definitive. We're in June. We're a long way away from this stuff really mattering that much, but that doesn't mean we can't work with it the best that we can, right? That doesn't mean we can't try to learn something from all this. So we're going to take a look at the various beat reporters and what they had to say about their first media open OTA session. So this is just kind of the introductory tweet from Brady Henderson. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks are on the field for their fourth OTA practice and the first one that is open to reporters. And Sam Darnold was certainly a topic of great interest today because he had an interesting day. Before we get started, please click the thumbs up button on this video. Helps the channel out. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. All right. So I'm just going to go through some of the things that I think are very notable from this first session and just try to get a feel for how things are shaping up. Keep in mind there will be two other media open OTAs. I believe there's one more this week and then there's one more next week, if I recall correctly. But either way, whenever they happen, I'll be here to talk about them. Okay, so let's start with Sam Darnold. Let's start with Sam Darnold because one of the big things that came out of today was the inconsistent day that he had. Brady Henderson lays it out here. Sam Darnold was intercepted twice in a short span during a 7-on-7 red zone drill. Julian Love got him. Josh Joby picked him. So right away, we get to see a little bit of that. And I believe Darnold had a third interception at another point during the day. So there was definitely some turnover stuff with Darnold today. And that's kind of how things typically go with him. That is the Sam Darnold experience so far in not only his NFL career, but his college career. So if he does turn the ball over a lot this year, then that's just going to be in line with his career so far. You look at his NFL career so far, he's got 68 interceptions in 73 career starts. You can see that as a Jet, I think he averaged almost exactly one interception per game. Carolina, it was like slightly less than one interception per game. The Vikings, that's the only, last season, the season he had last year was the only year where he kept the interceptions down. Got his interception percentage down to a 2.2, which is pretty good, pretty manageable. Still 12, but he threw the ball so much and had so many positive outcomes when he threw the ball that it's pretty easy to forgive. But he is a guy who will throw interceptions, even going back to college. You go back to college, he's on a USC team that, I mean, they weren't the juggernaut of the Pete Carroll era when Sam Darnold was there, but he was on a pretty good team that competed at a pretty high level. And as a 2-year starter at USC, he threw 22 interceptions, including a conference-leading 13 in 2017, 2.6 interception percentage, which doesn't sound that bad, but when you consider the fact that he's playing for USC and he's getting to pad his stats theoretically against some weaker competition, because that's what higher-level colleges in football get to do, it's really not that good. And he did do a lot of good things to offset the interceptions. He led the conference in yards. He led the conference in yards per attempt, yards per completion. You were still talking about a guy who turned the ball over a lot. 22 picks in 27 starts in college. So that is kind of the Sam Darnold experience. So buckle up for it. He may end up throwing 15 interceptions this year and still playing pretty decently well. That's just kind of the way it goes. It's not there are quarterbacks out there who are capable of turning it over far less, but still not necessarily being as good as Sam Darnold can potentially be. If you take a look at what he did last year, for example, guys like Aaron Rodgers, they typically keep the turnovers down very low, but that doesn't always mean that they're particularly effective. Now, the good news, Darnold did bounce back. Apparently, Kubiak made fun of him a little bit. Responded with touchdowns to Broden. That's kind of interesting. UDFA receiver Broden hit Cooper Kupp for a touchdown, hit Charbonnet for a touchdown, hit JSN for a touchdown. But it's this last sentence. Several plays died with Darnold holding onto the ball. That's not something that I want to hear. And fortunately, it's still very early in training camp. We're not even really to training camp yet. These are OTAs. This is something that can't be happening when the season starts. Several plays died with Darnold holding onto the ball. If we get to the regular season and Darnold is holding onto the ball, which, quite honestly, that is kind of a thing that he's always done. He is a guy who holds onto the ball too long. Always kind of has been. Kind of like the turnovers. It's not going to work. Like, I think that some Seahawks fans don't even fully grasp how much this offense was allowed to be decent these last couple of years because Geno Smith worked so well when pressured for the most part. And a player like Darnold, if he comes in here and his solution to getting pressured is to just get sacked, it's going to be bad. It's not going to work well at all. And while I do think the offensive line will improve this year, I don't think it's going to improve by so much that Darnold is going to get to hold the ball back there like he's Jalen Hurts or something. It's the running game is only going to take you so far. So hoping that I don't hear this very much when the season starts. Speaking of the offensive line, okay, no. Okay, this is an interesting note on Drew Lock. There was a lot of praise for the way Drew Lock looked. If you want to take a look at another quarterback on the Seahawks team, Drew Lock looked sharp in 11 on 11. One play that multiple people referenced was he was throwing across his body while rolling to his left, 25 yards to Steven Sims, toe tapping the sideline. And there were a couple other good plays from Lock as well. I know that this fan base has a lot of Lock fans. A lot of people kind of, I don't know, they developed a fondness for him when he was here, even though he didn't play that much. There was a fondness for Drew Lock that never existed for a guy like Sam Howell. So I know some people are going to like that. Greg Bell did write a News Tribune article here. I'm not going to go over the whole thing here, but if you scroll to the bottom here, you can see that there is further praise for Lock through 2 touchdown passes on 2 consecutive plays, including one to Cody White. And Cody White apparently had a very good game. He also threw a touchdown pass to Elijah Arroyo. And by the way, it is notable that Arroyo is out there, even though he doesn't have his contract yet. So clearly he is trusting the team to negotiate with him and get that contract done. So Drew Lock did seem to look pretty good. Now, people are going to get on me for pointing this out, but there is a third quarterback on this team that we have to talk about in terms of how he performed yesterday. And again, I want to stress, this stuff means even less for a guy like Milroe, because Milroe is almost certainly not going to play any football at quarterback this year. If he does play, it's going to be as like a trick play guy. It's going to be as a Taysom Hill guy. But Jalen Milroe looked rough. He was way off in the red zone. Sailed a pass 3 yards over the head of Ricky White. Let a pass get broken up by JT Woods. He tried to throw it to Arroyo in the middle of the end zone. Missed some receivers during the 11 on 11. So he is, again, I want to stress, this is, I think, what people can reasonably expect from Jalen Milroe right now. So I'm not trying to alarm anybody. I'm not trying to suggest anything over the top here, but he is who we thought he was. So anybody out there who is sitting there expecting Jalen Milroe to do a Russell Wilson, and by do a Russell Wilson, I mean go out there and take over just take over the starting job as a rookie, I'd take that out of your head. That's really going to be tough. And if that happens, it means it's probably not going to go well for us. So if you want to know how the quarterbacks did, Darnold was mixed, Locke was good, Milroe was bad. Offensive line. Let's talk about the offensive line now a little bit. The starting offensive line of this OTA session. We've got Charles Cross at left tackle, of course. You've got Oluwatimi at center, of course. Although, I should say, I know there are some people out there who think Sundel is better than Oluwatimi, or at least maybe a little more intriguing. But even if that does end up playing out that way, it wouldn't happen yet. It would happen later in training camp if Sundel looks better consistently. And then right tackle was Abe Lucas. So that's not really interesting either. We knew Lucas was going to start at right tackle. The interesting stuff is Gray Zabel starting at left guard. So they are going to give him a shot there. And Christian Haynes was your number one right guard. So that is the current alignment of the Seahawks starters. The second offensive line, the backup unit was left tackle Mike Jarrell. They're putting Jarrell at left, it looks like. I like that. I think that makes some sense. Lomia at left guard, didn't see that coming. Didn't view him as a left guard guy at all. But maybe they see something there. We'll see. Or maybe this just reflects the fact they don't have left guards on the team. Jalen Sundel, center, sure. Anthony Bradford, backup right guard. He's the only guy left. And Josh Jones at right tackle. So Jarrell and Jones flip-flop. Lomia flops over to the left side. And apparently Sundel did alternate with Oluwatimi with the one group. And Bradford alternated with Haynes. So there is some opening for those guys, maybe. And I will continue to say, do not count out Bradford yet. He's very talented. He just hasn't put it together yet. And Haynes may end up being able to serve better as a center or even a left guard. So I'm not counting any of that out. Brady Henderson echoes the sentiment of Gray Zabel starting at left guard. Bradford and Haynes sharing time at right guard. Oluwatimi got most of the works at center with Sundel rotating in. But the thing I want to highlight here was Lucas did not appear limited, a good sign given his prior knee trouble. So maybe we're finally going to get that really good full Abe Lucas season in 2025. And that would change things dramatically, guys. Like, those tackle spots are so important. And if we get good tackle play, it'll be so much easier for the interior to play well. And Brady Henderson had this to say about Lomia working at left guard behind Zabel with the second team. One would imagine that he and perhaps CapnQweef will work their way into the right guard competition. So Lomia actually played a lot as a right guard last year, so it's kind of interesting that we're trying him at left guard. Maybe that's just by necessity. But if we're talking about Haynes, Bradford, Lomia, and now CapnQweef as right guards, that's too much. One or two of those guys are going to have to find a different position or just not have a real chance to make the team. So that's why I wonder about somebody like Haynes maybe playing another spot. That's why this Lomia thing is a little bit interesting. I think CapnQweef can be a left guard. I think he's more of a left than a right. I'm not sure, but I think he's got a shot at it. So I would say that this is worth monitoring because we can't carry four right guards. Going to have to figure out who the backup left guard is. I thought it would be CapnQweef, but I'm open to a lot of possibilities there. Let's see here. Cody White, I mentioned him earlier. He stood out in an early 11-on-11 red zone period, catching Drew Lock touchdown passes on consecutive plays. And remember, this is in addition to the Arroyo touchdown from Lock. So Lock had a good game just in general as well. And look, Cody White, fun player, intriguing player. I like what's going on here. So I'm hoping that Cody White can maybe even take away Bobo's spot, because I think Bobo's on borrowed time. If somebody like a Cody White wants to step up and be the guy who can supplant Cody White, I think that'd be great. We did get this article as well in the Seattle Times. This is from Condotta here, and he summarizes a lot of the things that I was talking about. One thing from this article that I wanted to kind of single out, though, because of course I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Emin Wari spent much of the day working with the ones in nickel and dime defense, generally lining up in the slot, generally assigned to cover running backs and tight ends on passing plays. So looks like it's happening. This is something that a lot of people have talked about. This is something a lot of people have theorized. But it does look like Emin Wari is going to end up playing a lot in the slot, which will free Witherspoon up to play on the outside and allow Emin Wari to find a way to contribute as a rookie. That's one thing I wanted to highlight from this. That's a defensive note, which I'm going to save most of the defensive stuff for a second video later today. But one other thing from this Condotta article, Kupp looked good, appeared in midseason form. Made a handful of catches, took part in everything, doesn't seem to be hurt at all. Witherspoon said matching up with Kupp regularly in practice is giving him an even greater appreciation for his skills. So, sounding pretty good so far. Obviously, we got a long way to go. And at the end of the day, the main issue with Kupp is not so much his play, it's his inability to stay on the field for a full 17-game season. So, he'll have to prove it that way. But so far, so good there. And one last note on the offense here, and I already talked about this a little bit last week, but it's worth repeating. Torrey, Horton, putting moves on defensive backs in open field drills looked full go. I'm not going to play the clip, but he looks pretty ready to play football. So that's big. That is very, very big. That is very, very good. At minimum, he should be our punt returner this year, I believe. At minimum, I think he should be a big contributor on special teams. But there is definitely a world where we get injured at the receiver spot. I mean, Cooper Kupp, the guy getting through 17 games, even if he has a good season and we feel like that contract was good, he's probably going to miss a little bit of time because that's what older players do. Torrey Horton could be an important part of this offense, and I'm really excited about this. So, full go, great news. And that's about it for the offensive stuff. I'm going to save the defensive discussion for a video in a few hours. I'll get another video up around noon. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk more about this first OTA session, but I'm going to go and split it here. I don't like making these super long videos unless I really have to. And yeah, so lot to talk about good, lot to talk about bad. And at the end of the day, it's still early June. See you guys later. Go Hawks.